What if I told you that some of Dexter's deadliest enemies might not be as dead as we thought? Resurrection is bringing back familiar faces, but not just the ones you expect. Some will return as ghosts of the past, others in ways that could completely rewrite Dexter's story. And here's the real question. What if one of them never actually died? Let's get into it. Brian Moser, the ice truck killer, the only person who ever truly understood Dexter, not as the man he pretended to be, but as the predator he really was. Their connection was unlike anything Dexter had with anyone else. Unlike Harry, who tried to mold Dexter into a controlled killer, Brian saw no need for control. He believed their urges were natural. That's what made him so dangerous. And yet Dexter still killed him. Or did he? Brian has already returned once before. In Dexter, Season 6, he appeared as a hallucination, replacing Harry's guiding voice with something far more sinister. While Harry urged restraint, Brian encouraged indulgence. If Resurrection follows this pattern, Brian's return as a hallucination would make perfect sense. After everything Dexter has been through, especially after New Blood, his mind would be more fractured than ever. And who better to reappear in his subconscious than the brother who represented his darkest urges? But let's stay grounded. Could Brian's return be something more than just a voice in Dexter's head? The theory that Brian never actually died might sound far-fetched, but consider this. We saw Dexter strangle him, but unlike most of his kills, we never saw him dispose of the body. This raises a small but interesting possibility. Of course, the show has never hinted at Brian surviving, so it would be a major leap for Resurrection to take. But if the series wanted to introduce a new character who follows Brian's ideology, perhaps someone inspired by the ice truck killer, it could create a fresh and terrifying threat for Dexter. So, if Brian does return, it's most likely as a hallucination, just like Deb in New Blood. But would his influence be stronger this time? After everything Dexter has lost, would he finally listen? Or would Brian become the ultimate reminder of the path Dexter has desperately tried to avoid? What if Dexter's greatest enemy wasn't a serial killer? What if the person who truly destroyed Dexter was the man who claimed to save him? Harry Morgan, the man who gave Dexter a purpose, the father who molded him into something manageable, the mentor who created the code. To the world and even to Dexter himself, Harry was the reason he never became a mindless killer. But when you really look at it, was he Dexter's protector? Or was he his greatest manipulator? For years, Dexter framed Harry as a guiding force, a well-intentioned father who did his best with an impossible situation. But there's another way to see it. Harry didn't stop Dexter from killing. He trained him to do it under a moral excuse. He didn't seek real help for Dexter, didn't try to cure him, didn't even consider the possibility that Dexter might not be doomed to murder forever. Instead, he reinforced the darkness inside him. He made Dexter believe that killing was his only option. And the worst part? When Harry finally saw the monster he had created, when he walked in on Dexter slicing up a body in his first real kill, he couldn't handle it. He realized he had shaped a serial killer, not controlled one. And rather than take responsibility for it, rather than try to help Dexter in a way that actually mattered, Harry did the one thing Dexter never could. He ran. He killed himself and left Dexter alone with nothing but the code and a voice in his head. So why is Resurrection bringing him back? We already know Harry is dead, so like before, he'll return inside Dexter's mind. But this time, he won't be the fatherly mentor we knew. Resurrection has the perfect opportunity to twist the dynamic. Instead of being Dexter's guide, Harry could be the accuser. Imagine Dexter, broken, running from his past, but instead of hearing Deborah, instead of hearing Brian, he hears Harry. And not as a protector, but as a tormentor. This time, Harry doesn't tell Dexter how to survive. He tells him the truth, that Dexter was never in control, that the code didn't protect him, that it enslaved him, because at its core, the code was never about justice. It was about Harry trying to contain a monster. And if Resurrection forces Dexter to confront that, then Harry's return might be the most terrifying one yet. Angel Batista has never been Dexter's enemy. In fact, he was one of the few genuinely good people in Dexter's life, a loyal friend, a man who trusted Dexter completely. Unlike Dokes, Lagerta, or even Deborah, Batista never once suspected that Dexter was anything other than the quiet, nerdy blood-spatter analyst he appeared to be. He wasn't looking for darkness in Dexter, because unlike so many others at Miami Metro, Batista wasn't cynical. He believed in people. He believed in justice, and that's exactly why he could now become one of Dexter's greatest threats. Because after New Blood, that illusion is gone. In the final episodes of New Blood, Batista was blindsided by the revelation that Dexter Morgan might still be alive. When Angela Bishop sent him the evidence, the infamous Bay Harbor butcher case resurfacing after years, his reaction said everything. He knew, maybe not consciously, maybe not completely, but something inside him always knew. And when he realized that Lagerta had been right all along, you could see it in his face. This wasn't just another case. This was personal. So what happens in Resurrection? If Dexter truly survived, there is no doubt that Batista will hunt him down. And this time, it won't just be about justice. It will be about redemption, because Lagerta died believing Dexter was guilty, because Dokes' name was never cleared, because Batista himself, a man who spent years trusting Dexter, was fooled. And after everything, he won't let it happen again. But here's where it gets interesting. Unlike Dokes, Batista isn't just a relentless cop. He's a believer in morality, in right and wrong, in the system. He doesn't operate like Dokes did, with suspicion and instinct. He operates with facts. And if Resurrection brings him back into the fold, he won't just be chasing Dexter on a hunch. He will have proof. So could Angel Batista be a villain in Dexter Resurrection? No, not in the traditional sense. He won't be a murderer, a monster, or a manipulator like Harry. But in Dexter's story, he could be the one thing he has always feared the most. A good man, with righteous fury, who won't stop until Dexter is finally brought to justice. And this time, Dexter might not be able to escape. Then we have Arthur Mitchell, the Trinity Killer, the man who dismantled Dexter's carefully controlled life in a way no one else ever could. Unlike other killers Dexter faced, Trinity wasn't reckless or impulsive. He was methodical, disciplined, and terrifyingly patient. And worst of all, he had a family, a structured life that, on the surface, looked just as normal as Dexter's. But beneath that was pure chaos. Trinity's impact on Dexter was permanent. When he killed Rita, it wasn't just an act of violence, it was proof that Dexter could never truly separate his dark urges from the people he cared about. He thought he was in control, but Trinity showed him that his actions had consequences, and that lesson never left him. But here's the real question. Could Resurrection bring Trinity back? One possibility is that he returns as a hallucination, like Brian Moser or Harry Morgan. But let's be realistic. Dexter never hallucinated Trinity before, and his guilt over Rita was already represented by Deborah in New Blood. So if Trinity does return, it wouldn't be as a ghost haunting Dexter's conscience. A far more believable way for Resurrection to use Trinity is through his legacy. What if someone else was influenced by him? A copycat killer who studied his crimes? Maybe even someone he groomed, the way Harry trained Dexter. Unlike Dexter, Trinity had decades of experience before he was caught. Who's to say he didn't leave behind a protege? Someone who understood his twisted ideology and wants to continue his work. That would be far more terrifying than just seeing Trinity again. Because it wouldn't just be Dexter reliving the past. It would be the past refusing to die. Would Dexter be forced to stop a new Trinity? Or would this time, it be Harrison's battle to fight? Dexter Morgan has spent his life running, from his past, his urges, and those who got too close. But in Dexter Resurrection, there's nowhere left to hide. Brian Moser, the brother who embraced his darkness. Trinity, the killer who proved Dexter's delusion of control was a lie. Harry, the father who didn't save him, but created him. And now, Angel Batista, one of the few good men in his life, may become the force that finally brings him down. This time, Dexter isn't the predator, he's the prey. Will he escape one last time? Or is this the moment he finally answers for everything he's done? One thing is certain, the past always catches up. And for Dexter, time is running out. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. And if you've made it this far, congrats. You clearly have a dark passenger of your own, always craving the next deep dive into Dexter's mind. So why not make it official? Subscribe and join the dark side. No code required. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.